show, I have the pleasure of hanging out with and talking to the amazing Willie Walker.
I don't know how amazing it is, but I've enjoyed it.
You'll see how amazing it is before we're done. So we've been friends for a lot of years.
A lot of years.
So when I thought about the Father's Day episode, I said, well, who can I talk to that can speak to the plight and the opportunities for fathers, but then also the huge opportunity right now from a community engagement and activism perspective with all the energy that's been garnered in the last couple of years. And you were the first person that came to mind.
Okay.
So just so everybody knows, Willie Walker, I'll let you also tell us about yourself. But Willie Walker is so many things. You are an amazing father of 5 wonderful girls.
Yes.
Plus, because many of us claim him as his parentage, like call you dad.
a lot of daughters and sons and cousins and nieces.
Exactly. So if you see you online or somewhere and somebody says dad, he's everybody's dad. It's like that kind of situation. But then you also have spent a lot of years in community engagement. Yes. And so anytime anybody wants to do anything or know anything about Harlem, even outside of Harlem, in New York, Harlem, yes, you're a go-to person.
Well, I've been blessed to have connections. Blessed, really blessed. And I can make a telephone call. It is usually for somebody that need it. And it's no charge for that. It's just people asking for, people need somebody to make a connection for them.
Well, it's interesting because you have a lot of connections and there are a number of people with connections, but not everybody uses their connections or leverages their connection for the benefit of other people. Right. And you do that.
They're free.
That's awesome.
They're free. I don't know any way to say it other than that.
Why do you do it? Like it takes time, it takes energy. Why do you even do it?
Well, be honest, it's easy. It's easy. Mainly it's a telephone call. And it's because I've done something for somebody, right? And they're paying it forward.
So instead of leveraging that favor for yourself, you pay it forward to somebody else.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right. And they have to do that for someone else.
We need to
and I ask that they do that. You know, so often people want to get paid for the things that they do, but if you're blessed, I'm blessed to have the connections that I have. So how do you charge for that?
Right, and the relationships, and then they still have to make good on the relationship and come through on their side. So, like you said, So now you are also the father of 5 amazing girls. Now you are a single dad.
Yes.
Talk to me about being a single dad and what that was like.
Well, you know what? I was married twice. Okay. Right, and I went to court and took my daughters. The last wife is dead, but I went to court and took my daughters.
That's because not easy, because they don't really give.
Well, I didn't think anybody could raise my daughters like I could.
I hear that.
Okay, and my daughters wanted to stay with me. Not that their mothers was bad. My ex-wife was never bad. Right, they were good women. Right, we just weren't good for each other.
Right,
and my daughters are my daughters.
Were you
and
afraid?
That's not to take my daughters from their mother.
Right.
Because
you still co-parented.
Yeah,
you were just the primary.
But you know what happened? My daughters primarily stayed with me, and when they was, I think 16, they had to go live with their mother for at least 2 years.
Right? Was that because you wanted them to, or
they needed that feminine side of them to be exposed to, their mother to teach them that part.
I heard you were pretty good at teaching women how to take care of themselves and bathe.
I had to, man. You know what? I had to learn how to braid hair. I had to learn how to relax hair. I had to learn.
Wait! You didn't just braid and do the hair. You actually relaxed and you didn't send them to the beauty salon. You did.
No, my daughters wanted their hair relaxed, and I bought the kit. Right.
Read the instructions.
And I did it. And nobody's hair fell out.
So then it worked.
Right. It worked. So
when did you feel like you hit your limitation of like, okay, this is time for them to get that maternal?
When they thought that they was the smartest people in the world.
Well, that's all kids, isn't it?
But like my daughters at a certain age felt like they were the smartest people in the world. Nobody could tell them anything, right? And they needed their mother to talk to them and guide them. And not that their mother was always away from them, right? But they needed to stay with them.
So let's talk about that, because what you're highlighting is there is a role for the father and there's a role for the mother. In an ideal world, you're able to impart those gifts together.
Right.
But if you can't, you still need to make room for it.
When my daughters was growing up, they didn't have that. This is your aunt and staying with me, right?
Oh, you mean like for dating?
Nobody stayed in my house.
Oh, I see.
But I had women friends that was really nice that would take my daughters for the weekend. Right?
Well, you let them. Well, would you do that now in 2022?
Well, these was like you would.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Like and you just come and say, I know you need to get out,
get a break. Okay, that's fair. So you had your people that you trusted.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, really close friends.
It wasn't like women you were dating.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My daughters didn't meet women that I was dating.
Got it.
Okay. And when they met women that I was dating, they were older young ladies. But they didn't stay in the house.
So what does it mean? Because I'm sure you got a lot of people saying, "Oh, wow, giving you so many accolades that they wouldn't necessarily give to a woman who's raising 5 children."
Right.
So what are your thoughts? And so what that does?
It was wrong.
I was gonna say it gives a debate where people like, if men have their kids, it's like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing you're doing that," and women will say, "Wait, you're supposed to do that. Like you're the father."
I look at it this way. To be honest. A woman would take 5 kids and go from New York to California with no job and take care of those kids. She'll find a job. She'll find a way.
Figure it out.
A man had 1 child. He got his mother, sister, everybody got to be there. No, I'm serious. I'm not putting guys down.
Right.
But I'm saying what I know. Okay, we're not willing to always jump in and do that. So no accolades to me. Right? I did what I wanted. I was raised with 4 sisters. And my sisters was older than I, and I was raised, you don't argue with little girls,
right?
And my older sister had this phrase, she would say, "Come here, what are little boys made of?" And I had to say, "Snakes and snails and puppy dog tails." And what are little girls made of? Sugar, spice, and everything nice, right? Snakes and snails don't argue with sugar and spice.
She had to give you a visual.
Oh, she had to give me a visual because, it was always how you could. I was born in Alabama, raised and born in Alabama.
So you were the only boy with 4 girls?
No. It was 2 boys, 3 boys, and 4 girls.
Got it.
And I'm the baby. So everybody picked on me until I got big enough that they can't pick on me anymore. My sister was married when I was born.
Right. So you were younger. So here you are, the youngest of a pretty large family.
Yeah.
And then when you have the opportunity to take responsibility for your children, you jump in and you become the primary caretaker.
Right.
That's awesome.
And now all my sisters, everybody's dead. It's me now.
Wow.
I'm it.
So we got to get all this wisdom.
So I got all these nieces and nephews, right? And I'm there for them.
That's awesome. What advice do you have this Father's Day to fathers out there, either married and raising their children, or even single dads like you were?
I don't give advice. But
no,
I don't. I really don't. But I would say what about me.
What nuggets of wisdom did you take into consideration that somebody else might consider doing themselves?
Well, I have girls, right? And one of the things that we should learn as parents, when not to be the parent. And I say that as far as being the authority within the house, the authoritative person. We overdo it, right? You don't want to lose your kids. So at a certain age, you have to learn how to communicate with them without being that overbearing parent, because you can lose them easy. And when you do, it's hard to get them back. Yeah. So it's my daughters and myself. We don't argue, we don't fight, we don't do any of that. I'm the dad, right? And I don't have to say anything about authority, right? We grew up knowing I'm going to be the person that's going to take care of you, even to this very day, and they're all grown with children, right? But we can laugh and talk with each other. We have fun.
So build a friendship.
A friendship, still understanding that parenting is always there. That's you never lose that. The parenting is always
that's a
there.
hard balance to strike, but I think it's really good, even though you say it's not advice, it's a really good tidbit for fathers, because sometimes fathers, I know in my household, fathers had the reputation of boom, boom, boom. Well, I'm going to tell your dad, of being that authoritarian, the disciplinarian. And so that puts fathers in a position of like good cop, bad cop sometimes.
Right.
And so what you're saying is, in addition to being an authoritarian, you never lose that because you're still the parent.
You're still the parent.
Father.
Right.
Find a softer side to connect.
Right.
So that you don't lose them
Absolutely.
And they don't disconnect or not want to be
they
afraid.
have to be. You have to have your children to come to you, right? And if they can't come to you, they will go to somebody else, right? So still being the parent, right? But in a way that your children understand that they could come to you with anything. I'm your parent. I'm your protector. I'm your friend, right? So there's no disrespect in my household at all. I don't disrespect them. They don't disrespect me.
No, that's a tidbit. That's definitely something. As you're talking, I'm just thinking how valuable that is. I can imagine other fathers, digesting that and trying to figure out, well, how do I make that work in my relationship with my child or my children, especially if you have a father with children that are not domiciled with them,
right,
living somewhere else, or multiple children. How do you see our community kind of navigating that?
To tell you honestly, right? We have to step up. Men have to be men responsible for their families. You see so many single parents, but the single parent is the female, right? And where's the male? And she asking that question, where's the male? She shouldn't have to ask that question, right? We should understand our responsibility and take that responsibility serious. We don't always do that. Right. I have men friends now that are single parent, right? And we talk, and I say the same thing that I'm saying now, right? Never lose your daughter. Never lose your child. And these are men with daughters. Never lose your child, right? Make sure that you're there for her, that she could come to you with anything.
Right.
That's
big. So when you think about parents these days who have lost their way, right, and don't have examples that they can emulate,
right,
to step up. They don't even know what stepping up looks like, because they didn't have, those men may not have had fathers in their lives. What's the responsibility of folks at large to be the example, even if you're not the biological?
You have to want to be the example. Some people are thrown into it and they handle it well. But those that aren't have to want to be an example. And sometimes we have to learn. We have to listen to somebody. But listen to the person that you see that are doing it, not the person that say they're doing it, right? So always get an example from what you see rather than what you hear, because you could hear anything. But what you see is usually real. So look at that and talk to people. We need to talk.
Well, you've been the convener of things for men. In fact, I joke with you and I'm like, why can't ladies come? Right. You bring men together to talk and to be vulnerable. Tell us about that.
Well, you know what? I was going to do a cigar club, right? So I did my whole garden floor really nice, right? And because I knew women was going to be in it, the bathroom had a urinal, and it was unisex.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
I mean, really unisex, right? So when guys come, we smoke cigars, we drink, we have a backyard. We talk about things that most people don't think we talk about. It very seldom relationships, because we all are in relationships, so we don't need to talk about that. But we talk about things, about growth. We talk about business. We talk about men sharing with one another. And it's very important, if you want to be vulnerable with somebody, be with another guy, right? Let that guy see that softer side or that weak side in you, right? Because he'll understand it and he'll counsel you through it without saying you're weak, without saying anything other than you're going through a moment and you need some help.
I just think that just seeing a man talk to another man in that nurturing way is a lesson in and of itself.
Right. And it's just men sitting down talking, but understanding what you're going through.
Over a good cigar.
And listen, I got a wine. I bought a liquor cabinet. I got a liquor cabinet.
And a drink.
With everything in it. I'm champagne and wine, but I got everything in it.
That's awesome.
So whatever they want to drink, they can drink it. And nobody have to bring anything, right?
Right.
We just sit down and we kick it. One of the things we do now is that, and I tell you, this is kind of private, because Eric was at my house, right? And he said, I want you guys to start counseling young people, right? And we had young men there. The guys that were there, had their sons who were 25 and 30 years old.
And
right?
This is Eric Adams, the
Yes.
mayor of New York, before he was mayor, or?
No, he was mayor.
Oh, okay.
Right? But sometimes he'll stop by my house and we do this, right? So he said, I need you guys to really start concentrating on mentoring young men, right? And we do that, right? And some of the guys that was there, it was about, I guess, about 4 young men that was there. And they was in their late 20s and in early 20s. And they sit and they ask questions and they listen. And it was very attentive to what they heard, right? And they shared things with us that we didn't know, but we learned. So parents can also learn from young people if you want to, if you're open to hear it.
Yeah, the openness. But, you talk about parents being open to the conversations, but sometimes you do need folks like you guys, another set of ears and eyes and somebody else to listen, because you can talk to you blue in the face and someone else can say the same thing that a parent says, and all of a sudden the child will listen. So having that extended community that you and Eric Adams and others talked about, I mean, that's important. Either way.
Well, he was, I mean, an inspiration. Just being there and people hearing him and his ideas and his thought and the thought process.
And being so accessible.
And, and not just accessible in that there, but he's accessible citywide. He said he would be, and he is, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're all learning from one another, right? And what we learn, we share. If I tell you about the nieces, the nephews, that I mean, everybody that met me that knows somebody else, I'm all of a sudden their uncle, and it's
when we
and they don't
introduced as Uncle Willie,
right?
Uncle Willie.
And you know what happened? It doesn't hesitate. They don't hesitate to call me. You never hesitate
because
to call.
I was going to say, because you answer the phone,
right?
And if you don't, I think it's a rarity. I don't think you've ever not answered.
No, I always answer.
You always answer.
Right.
Yeah,
always.
you're always there to be supportive. So now you're talking about connecting with other men. It just reminds me of Juneteenth. And it's just so serendipitous that Juneteenth is the Monday, and then Father's Day is a Sunday.
Right.
I have to make the connection between, now it's a nationally recognized holiday.
Right.
Many employers are giving it as a day off, just like the 4th of July.
That's right.
Now, there's also, if you look in retail and, and people doing the wrong thing with the holiday, commercializing it and trying to monetize it. But do you think that we as a people and as a community have asserted what it should be? I see a lot of response about what it shouldn't be. Slapping people's hands. It's not that. It's not that. But have we really done enough to define and assert what we in our families should be doing on Monday for Juneteenth and what it should look like?
Well, you said some people do the wrong thing. What is the wrong thing?
Monetizing it and you're not a Black person. You're not referencing the history of the date and what it really means, but you're creating a T-shirt and selling it for your benefit, and those proceeds are not even going back into the community.
That's what capitalism is about. Right.
So what are you saying?
And I'm saying this is what people do. It's a part of the world. It's a part of people going to benefit or try to benefit any way that they can. Right. And it's not wrong.
I get that. Right? But how do we then? I didn't say what do we do to go against that, because like you said, it's going to happen. It's the nature of capitalism. However, even though, we could still have a voice in what it should look like in the room. But how do we, to me, we should take the opposite approach. We should say, instead of just constantly slapping down like whack-a-mole, what shouldn't be done, how are we taking the initiative to define what should be done? How do we respect the holiday and set the example for others?
You respect the holiday by learning what Juneteenth is about. So many people really don't know what Juneteenth is about and don't care, right? Juneteenth is about a travesty as bad as slavery was, kept in slavery and kept away from the news that you are free, not even understanding that they were free, right? So we have to understand, and a lot of people say, how did that happen? Easy. There was no communication. Nobody's going to go and tell the slaves that you're free. And certainly the slave owners, right, wasn't going to tell them, because they were the one that kept them back. Right? So we need to understand what has happened to our people, right? And take ownership to it. And you take ownership by understanding that in passing along the kindness that the slaves did with one another. They couldn't have lived if there wasn't kindness and concern for one another. And that's how it was. Even when I was born in Alabama, I was born in a segregated society, right?
That's enough to make somebody really angry.
Close to what slavery is.
Right.
Right. And you know what? We think that things are so much better, right? They aren't, because there's still the racism, still the prejudice, still the things that have happened to blacks always still happening. And it's happening because people don't want to give up power.
It's systemic.
Right? And it's grown into you from the time that you're born. Right?
So how do you experience that kind of trauma? Raised in Alabama around segregation, etc. And then I know we're skipping a lot, but then fast forward to the generous, giving, thoughtful person. I don't see anger. I don't see that, the angry come out of you and how you behave and how you interact with people. How do people start to heal? And how did you heal past the trauma?
It's individual. I've taken it in and understood it. I had to learn. First of all, I've been in martial arts for a lot of years, right? And I did that because I need to protect me, okay? And I need to protect my family. So not that I was going to go out and beat up anybody, but if it came, I was
self-defense,
there, right? You take pride within yourself. Who are you, and what do you stand for, right? And I mean truly stand for it. Don't stand for it when you're around certain people, and when you're not, you're totally different. I wear African clothes, and everybody know me. This is how I dress, right? And I'm proud of that, because it upset people. It upset people to see me dressed in all African clothes, right? They think I'm non-conforming. They think that they have a lot of different thoughts about me, but they can't change me.
Has that evolved? Because I would imagine, 30 years ago, you doing it is different than today, where people embrace it more.
People still are the same. White people are still the same, right? Black people like it because they feel like you're representing them in your blackness.
Connection.
Which it is. White people don't like it because you're being that uppity person.
And non-conforming.
And a non-conforming.
Yeah.
So it's you're throwing it in their face. And I am, right? But that's who I am. But I'm willing to take the weight for that, right?
Right.
I know that there have been times that I should have been promoted on jobs that I wasn't, simply because this is how I dress. And anybody know me, I dress like this 24/7.
Unless it rains.
If it rains or snow, I have suits I wear, which is nuts. But those are my good clothes.
You don't want to mess up your...
I got great suits that I wear when it rains and snow, right? And that's to confuse people, right? But
wait, where's Willie Walker?
But I also have 120 outfits that was made. All my clothes are made, and it's you know what? It's a pride for me. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of being black. I shave my head. I was shaving my head all my life.
Wow.
Right? Because I know people want to understand. People that love hair can't understand
how you shave your hair.
Why would you do this?
And you have nice, easy to manage hair.
Right. I had straight hair, but I could never get an afro. First of all, I can never get that. Let me tell you something.
So wait, if your hair grew, would you have like a bang?
It was soft and like straight, right? And in order I tried to get an afro, so it's a thing called Octagon soap. I don't think you know about it.
What is it called?
Octagon soap.
Okay.
It was made with lye in it, right? And I used to put it in my hair to kind of kill its straightness in it, right?
Wait, I thought the lye made it straight.
No. This was Octagon soap.
It frizzed it up.
Yeah, frizz it up, right? Stiffen it up and all, right?
Okay, so sit up and look at the camera.
Yes.
Because we're gonna put a afro on you.
Do it.
We're gonna put an afro so you can see what's Octagon soap.
Octagon soap.
Okay.
But I could never get an afro, right?
That's funny.
So and I was a teenager, so I shaved my head.
Next best thing.
It's the best thing.
It's
right?
the shortest afro you can get.
and I love it. And people always, they talk about Michael Jordan way before him, right? People would say, why do you shave your head? That's because this is my style. This is what I like.
Right.
You know, and for me, every other day I still have to shave my head.
Right, to keep it low.
Right. So
but this is your look and people know you. And the wonderful thing that folks may not know is that you are a resource, not only for connections, but like a wealth of knowledge. Like you are so easy to talk to, whether it's family or relationships or work or anything, just shooting the breeze. Yeah, like you are such an amazing, if you walk down the street with this man in Harlem, you will not get a block without being stopped and having somebody strike up conversation and talk about how great you are.
And that's family though. Harlem is family. New York City is family. This is my home. From Alabama, this is my home.
And you know I'm from Brooklyn,
right?
So
I
know you're like, if you say that one more time.
Brooklyn people. Yes, Eric Adams, Brooklyn people. You know, I know about you, Brooklyn people. Yeah. But you know, I'm a Harlemite. You know, and I think, you know, but it's New York. We're family, man. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you're from.
It's true.
You're black, you're family, right? And we have to understand that.
Is that like the nod? You know, everybody doesn't know about, but we always talk about the nod. You can go anywhere. If you walk down the street or you're in the supermarket, especially in a predominantly white area, and you see another black person, you don't even have to know them. You just do the,
that's you're all right. That's when you know you are all right.
We're here together.
Yeah, you're all right. You know, so, but we need to get back to. It's a lot of things we need to get back to, but we need to start respecting our women, right? That is our lifeline. And if we forget that lifeline, we start disrespecting our women and respecting other women more than we do our own, right? We do a disservice to ourselves.
The most progressive communities, if you look at, you know, across the globe, are those that honor the elderly and honor the women in society.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's important that you do. Because what you're doing is that you're giving back what's been given to you. You know, you don't even have to be alive nowadays, right? But somebody nurtured you through that. Give it back.
See, that's what I wanted to get to. I'm glad you got there for Juneteenth.
Yeah.
That spirit, the only thing I can equate it to is post 9/11. And this was everybody, all races and sex and genders. Post 9/11, there was a connection that we had that was do you remember that? Like, it was amazing. People were loving on each other and respecting each other and supporting each other. And it didn't last, you know, long, because then we got to the point of, like, obviously people with hijab and, like, you know, all those things come back to surface. But there was a pocket of time. Yeah,
because of that fear that you may die today or tomorrow, right? And what mark did you leave?
And death left death didn't know gender or sexuality or race.
Right.
So you're right. It was
death is death.
It was that common connector.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about Juneteenth, it's a Muslim Imam Pasha of Shabazz Mosque, right? Did Juneteenth in Harlem when nobody knew about Juneteenth 15 years ago. And as early as 15 years ago, it had a parade in Harlem, right? He started at the mosque at 116th, came all the way down to 125th Street, stopped at the state office building, then came back up Lenox Avenue.
Wow.
And it was enough to say Juneteenth means something, and people didn't know what Juneteenth was.
Is there something now going on?
Something going on everywhere now.
Right, but I'm just saying, I'm wondering if that can be replicated.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he does it every year, you know.
Gotcha.
And
that was before the hoopla.
It was before people didn't know what Juneteenth was.
Gotcha.
I'm saying early as 15 years ago.
You're right. Wow. And now look, you know, it's resurged. I just feel like there's a responsibility and an opportunity to further define it. I won't say redefine it. It is defined, but to further define what it means to honor the holiday and what that should look like. So that's like my ask and my call and ongoing discussion that we convene to figure, instead of slapping the hands of what should not be done. You know, people get annoyed if somebody's having a picnic and they have watermelon.
Don't have a picnic.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
That word.
Oh, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Say a barbecue outing. right? But we don't have picnics.
Exactly.
So that Juneteenth thing, we don't have picnics.
But see, that's my point. That was the point I was trying to make. If you have a picnic with watermelon, so we identify the things we're not supposed to do, which we should, right? We should definitely define. But then the other piece is, how do we define what we should be doing? Who is the exemplar for what honoring that day should really look like in our families, in our communities, with our employers? We should just be more. I just think Why
can't we just be who we are and celebrate the day?
How you celebrating?
Any way you want. Any way you want to. You could say, I'm celebrating Juneteenth, right? That's honoring the holiday. You know, it's with the individual. Say, I listen. I want to go out and hang with my buddies and get high and celebrate Juneteenth.
That is not celebrating Juneteenth.
Wait a minute. Who says it wrong?
Okay.
There are no laws for how you celebrate, and we putting ourselves in a hole when we say we do.
No, I hear you.
When
but
you
this
say,
is not about laws.
I have to be at home with my daughters and my grandkids to celebrate Juneteenth. Is that all right?
No, but I don't think it's all right to put people in a box. However, I think directionally we should exude what we want to see. What does respect mean? What does respect for that day mean? And that could mean, you know what, you can celebrate however you want to, but maybe to your point, we're going to push forward more webinars or symposiums or parades where we talk about what the real meaning of the holiday is.
Absolutely. That should always be a learning curve with this.
Right.
Right. And if it is, you know, like I said, if I'm sitting down with my buddies and we having a barbecue and all, and I said, this is our celebration for Juneteenth, somebody's going to get up and say something about it. Somebody should get up and say something about it, right? I ask questions about it. But the celebration is come from the individuals to say, this is how we are celebrating.
So we agree, because we fuss all the time about stuff like this.
You fuss. I just listen. I listen to you fussing, right? And once you figure out that you were wrong,
so that's how you don't fuss.
Then you come back and you tell me, well, you know.
So once someone, they can celebrate how they want to celebrate, but I do think there needs to be a really public stage and platform around what it is, what we are truly honoring on that day. And then to your point, how people want to take that. I'm not trying to dictate whether you barbecue or go, but how people want to take that. Yeah, you personalize it.
Right.
But I do think we need to socialize
and
more.
I'm sure people are. I'm sure people are celebrating all over the country, right, for Juneteenth. And I'm sure there are a lot of forums going on. There are a lot of people teaching.
Discussion.
But then there are a lot of people aren't doing that. But they're celebrating privately or celebrating the way they feel fit. The same with Kwanzaa.
Yeah, right.
You know,
that's what I was going to mention.
And Kwanzaa, people are celebrating Kwanzaa the way they want to.
Right.
But they recognize that it is Kwanzaa and they recognize the period and why we have it.
Recognition, respect, and why.
And a learning curve.
And addressing that learning curve. Thank you.
You're welcome.